Hello, Justin Boyd, Liberty University, History 701, covering dissertation research. The dissertation I am looking at possibly doing would be how the United States evolved from a constitutional republic to a corporatocracy run by oligarchs utilizing psychological operations to steer the masses towards globalism, humanism, and a technocracy. So I've worked in psychological operations and intelligence units within the U.S. military and spent years reading about and listening to lectures about the evolution of America from its founding to where we are today. It's prevalent, the attempts to take religion out of the daily lives of its citizens and turn it towards a humanist society has proven to be a detriment to our daily lives of its citizens. Morality has decreased, and the use of propaganda, lobbyists, and an overreaching intelligence branch has created a corporatocracy run by select oligarchs that drive up prices and squash those that attempt to be a competitor within their business sector. Looking at John Locke's theory of labor and natural rights, the current usage of wage labor is in his mind, and the minds of other philosophers following him believe it to equate to slavery. It's obvious that serfdom never left, and the average Americans are serfs, and the hegemon that control the media, central bank, intelligence agencies, World Economic Forum, and other think tanks are steering the world and the people in a direction that the hegemon want, but not the average citizen. So the two dissertations that I am looking at, somewhat equating to what I want to do it on, is the propaganda dilemma, image, consciousness, democratic restraint in America and Britain in the War of Ideas. This is by Justin Casey, Georgetown University, 2024. Sources: he utilized the Freedom of Information Act to retrieve CIA documents, utilized the National Archives of the United Kingdom, Harry S. Truman Library, Ronald Reagan Library, and U.S. congressional records. Methodology: Justin compared the use of propaganda by the U.S. and U.K. since 1918 and exposes why, when, and how they use propaganda during peacetime. He tests this hypothesis during 3 time periods between the 2 world wars, early Cold War, and late Cold War. The content: with the use of his sources, he compares the push of communist propaganda by both countries, how they worked together or worked against one another, how the propaganda geared the public in a direction and was utilized to push legislatures to make moves that wouldn't have occurred without the propaganda. Conclusion: policymakers turn towards propaganda when they become conscious of their nation's global image. Image consciousness is the main issue. In time periods that policymakers were not image conscious, they lacked the use of propaganda, for instance, post-World War II. Justin makes an argument on propaganda known as opportunistic, where after a certain event, policymakers will use propaganda to tip the scales in their favor. For instance, pushing gun confiscation after a shooting. Policymakers and intelligence groups have utilized tactics such as creating radio networks in other countries to promote a positive American image and negative image towards the enemy at the time. The other dissertation that I was looking at is called Essays on Corporate Lobbying. It's by Hyunjo Oh, Washington University in St. Louis, 2024. Sources are economic journals, National Bureau of Economic Research, Law and Political Science Reviews. The methodology: O presents theories of why corporations lobby, which is opportunities, incentives, enhancing capabilities. The dissertation utilized many graphs and charts to provide an image of the amount of lobbying over time. Content: the dissertation provided effects of policy change and how much or how little corporations will lobby based on the policy and how it may help or hinder their corporation. Showing different methods of lobbying known as vertical integration, horizontal scope, and supply chain relationship lobbying. Conclusion. This is used to manage risk for instance, utilizing policymakers to push a law or agenda that would enhance the corporate's benefit over another. The lobbying by corporations is done not only for themselves, but for their suppliers too. This prevents any mishaps or issues with production hindrance overall. Studies have shown that replacing suppliers is more expensive than utilizing lobbyists to benefit one's supplier. So I looked into it, and lobbying has existed since the beginning of the country, but not to this point. It kind of went into overdrive following the after the Industrial Revolution, and once you had individuals like Andrew Carnegie and people like that that really created a monopoly. So it's kind of just in overdrive right now. And then I asked myself, I was like, what's the difference between lobbying and bribery? And they're pretty much almost the same thing. The only difference that I can see is that bribery is a guarantee in a positive outcome, whereas lobbying is basically influencing to potentially have it. But essentially, it's almost the same thing, and it's basically just a pay-for-play method. All right, thank you.